This is Fred Wahl, the Visa Coach. Today's topic is expediting your fiancé or spouse visa case. The time it takes to apply for and be granted a fiancé or spouse visa under the best of circumstances is extremely slow and tedious. And sadly, the time it takes is not measured in weeks or months, but in years. And during COVID, the system that already felt like the slow movement of a glacier bogged down even more, adding at least a year and counting for many applicants. Currently, over 500,000 cases are on hold waiting for COVID quarantine restrictions to be lifted. Now, getting your case processed and getting your partner to the USA faster than average, well, is not possible for most people. Most must wait in line like everyone else. However, in a few cases, if a couple has a legitimate reason, U.S. Immigration will grant special treatment to expedite their case, skipping it to the head of the line. I am Fred Wahl, the Visa Coach, and I work for you to prepare and craft your applications to submit to U.S. Immigration. And sometimes ask me, do I fill in the forms for them, or do they do it themselves? Well, absolutely, I do the preparing, filling in all the needed documents for your application. And even after your application is submitted, well, I remain with you, helping you through this journey, well, until that happy day your foreign partner calls to say, hey, she or he is on the way. Now today, I will share with you, well, the top 5 reasons that cases can get expedited. Please watch towards the end of the video, and I will share with you how to improve your expedite request chance of being granted. Now, let's talk about how to speed and expedite your fiancé or spouse visa case through U.S. Immigration. Now, U.S. Immigration may agree to expedite your case for one of the following reasons: imminent U.S. military deployment, a medical emergency, imminent danger, a fiancé's child being in danger of what they call aging out, extreme hardship. So let's talk about each in turn. First, imminent U.S. military deployment. Well, if the American sponsor is on active duty and he has orders cut for deployment, or is in a category that could face immediate deployment on short notice, U.S. Immigration is willing to expedite the case so that the serviceman or woman has time to settle his partner in the USA before the deployment begins. And for such cases, we submit copies of deployment orders or proof that the serviceman's skill set, or woman's skill set, was such that even while no deployment is currently in the works, it might happen on short notice. And all of our imminent deployment type waiver requests that, well, Visa Coach has submitted have been granted. Second, medical emergency. Well, what if you or your partner suffer a serious medical issue? Well, in some cases, that would be deemed acceptable to allow expedited processing. For example, perhaps your foreign partner has a condition that requires the type of medical assistance or expertise that's only offered in the USA. In fact, one of Visa Coach's clients needed treatment at the Mayo Clinic, and her case was approved for expedite. And we have also had cases where, well, the U.S. sponsor is hospitalized and upon discharge needs full-time home care to aid in his recovery. Third, imminent danger. Well, imminent danger usually means that the foreign partner's life is in danger. This could be due to direct or indirect threats, civil unrest, and/or natural disasters. Now, the more specific we can prove that the threat is personal to the individual, the better the chance that the request for expedite will be granted. Fourth, the fiancé's child is in danger of aging out. Now, when applying for a K-1 fiancé visa, the foreign fiancé's children can be included in the same application. However, the child is only considered a child until his or her 21st birthday. This means the application process must be complete, the interview held, the visa issued, and the child on the flight to the USA before midnight on the 21st birthday. So, if a case has been in process and it appears likely that the child will age out, U.S. Immigration will put that case ahead of the others in order to allow the fiancé, parent, and children to arrive in USA together. And last summer, at the height of COVID quarantines that shut down Vietnam, we successfully not only got the consulate to expedite our case, but to allow the interview while officially the consulate was closed and not providing any interviews for anyone else. Finally, extreme hardship. Now, extreme hardship is a catch-all category that allows U.S. Immigration to expedite a case to alleviate the extreme hardship of either you or your foreign partner is experiencing. But emphasis is on the word extreme. They do understand that being separated from your partner with your lives on hold, waiting for the wheels of immigration to turn, is a hardship. But that is a normal and expected hardship one accepts when entering into a long-distance romance. It's not considered extreme. As an example of an extreme hardship that we have worked on was when the home of my client's Philippine fiancé was destroyed by Typhoon Yolanda. The entire town she lived in was declared a disaster area. We immediately submitted evidence of what was happening, and her case was expedited. And in another case, my American client, was suffering extreme stress and anxiety attacks from being separated from his partner. We submitted his diagnosis and doctor's recommendations, and his request to expedite was granted. Now, I've helped prepare expedite requests for many VisaCoach clients. And in order to be successful, our requests had to be for legitimate and compelling reasons that U.S. Immigration would understand and relate to, and each request had to be supported with solid, verifiable evidence. Do not submit a frivolous expedite request. It is tempting to submit an expedite request just to see if it will work, even though the underlying reason and evidences, really are not enough. Submitting such a request is a bad idea. In good faith, U.S. Immigration takes all requests for expedite seriously. And on receipt of an expedite request, a case is taken out of the normal processing lineup and given to specialized reviewers. For example, if the request was based on medical reasons, it will be taken aside and reviewed by medical experts. Now, if the request is legitimate, then all is well, and the case remains outside the normal processing queue and zooms to the top of the processing pile. But if the case is not found to provide acceptable reasons, then it is returned back to the regular processing queue and back to wherever stage it was in, back at the time this started. And this can be, it can be many, many months to evaluate a request that basically ends up added, and this time added to the time that the case would have normally experienced if left to process. So instead of saving time, a frivolous request ends up lengthening how long you are separated from your partner. So don't do it. This was Fred Wahl, the VisaCoach, and I'm here to personally guide you on this journey. Now, click here to sign up for our monthly newsletter and receive bonus ebooks. And here for YouTube's recommendation. Here for the full playlist on recent videos on fiancé and spouse visas, and here to subscribe to our channel.